Hello, it's Tony from Unskippable Cutscene. In this video, I'm reviewing my World vs. World Specter Support build. This build excels at a wide variety of things, but does have some blind spots compared to other support classes. Healing is decent, but you'll get beat any day by a druid. Barrier is untouchable, no one even comes close, and the output values are just bananas. Cleansing potential is fairly weak, but that is likely going to get buffed in an upcoming patch, which changes how Dark R will be generated from blasting dark fields. From a boon perspective, Spectre can compete with Renegade for first place in Might and Fury, with stability coming in just under them. Protection, Swiftness, and Vigor output are all untouchable. Resistance is also going to be topping the charts. However, Aegis, Resolution, Quickness, and Super Speed are inaccessible, and Regeneration is only effective if there are no other druids due to the low regeneration stacking cap. Spectre also boasts Scourge level hard CC application thanks to how OP the Shroud skills are. So let's start out with the equipment. The goal is to get to 100% boon duration, then maximize healing power, then maximize percent healing output. Our gear is going to be split between minstrels and givers in order to maximize concentration. All the weapons, armor except for helmet, and trinkets except for the amulet and one accessory will be minstrels. The rest, of course, are going to be givers. Both weapon sets are the same, except that one set has Sigil of Life and the other has Sigil of Transference. Both sets have a Sigil of Concentration. For the runes, we're doing Rune of the Water. For the boon duration percentage, for the relic, we're doing Caracosa, because the healing output is absolutely insane with the number of blast finishers that the Spectre can pull off. And then finally, all infusions are going to be Concentration. For food and utility, we're going to get real weird with it. The food is going to be Mint Creme Brulee for the emphasis on concentration, and the utility is going to be the Bountiful Maintenance Oil, so we can get our hands on that sweet percent healing output bonus. The reason we're going for that is because the percent output is going to actually help our lower coefficient Shadow Step heals out more than straight healing power. That being said, the reverse actually may be more beneficial considering how much Caracosa did when I tested this build out. So now let's move on to the basic philosophy of the class. Stealing grants buku boons to you and your allies. Shadow stepping through either your wells or your number 3 skill will do massive healing and generate your shadow force. And then finally, your shroud skills are insanely powerful and you want to use them the entire time you're waiting for your initiative to regenerate. Before fights, you want to keep your shadow force topped off. That means trying to get into combat and then teleporting to your allies. You're going to burn all of your initiative blasting fire fields right at the start of the fight, so your shroud is going to carry your support kit through the engage phase. If you can keep your Sigil of Life stacks between fights, that's great. Otherwise, keep an eye on those stacks and then swap to the Sigil of Transference set as soon as those stacks hit 25. So now let's move on to skill usage. You want to be using F1 on cooldown. If possible, it's ideal to use it on enemies because it gives you some of your shadow force back, actually a pretty hefty portion of that. It also can daze them, and then it gives you the full boon duration. Otherwise, it's totally fine to use it on your allied target. You'll get half the boon duration, but it also sets the cooldown to half, so you're not losing anything there. Just make sure you are pressing it as often as you can. That's the most important part. Your main non-shroud decision-making is really going to be centered around asking, do I press 2 or do I press 3? And here's the answer. You want to press 3 continuously until your shadow force is full. At that point, if you have any remaining initiative or you are doing other non-shroud things, you'll grind that initiative down to 0 by spamming 2. This is a good barrier, it's a blast finisher, so it's going to be triggering Caracosa all the time. Additionally, since you can't use your utility skills when you're in Shroud, keep an eye on the cooldowns of those utility skills and decide if it is worth activating any of them before you go into Shroud mode. Well of Bounty for stability right at the start of the first engage, followed by Shadowfall on the big breach call, creates a huge disparity between the Zergs in crowd control. Well of Gloom, your heal skill is decent. It triggers both the Shadow Step heal traits, and then it pulses for a moderate amount. That and Shadow Refuge can account for a significant portion of total healing. However, Shadow Refuge should be held for downed allies as it pulses a 5% res per tick. I kind of don't do that. Finally, the last skill I took was Blinding Powder, and this is actually a huge mistake. Any builds referencing using Blinding Powder should be disregarded. The intention here of using Blinding Powder is that it activates stealth, which then allows you to use the Shadow Squall stealth attack. Shadow Squall should, in theory, be a huge heal and a ton of regeneration. In reality, Shadow Squall is weak shit, and I think it's because it actually has really bad hit registry. In the hour that we ran, I only had 14 Shadow Squall hits for healing, and maybe I was just overhealing the whole time, but I do notice a lot of the time that those stacks don't land. And even when they do, the idea behind Shadow Squall is that it applies a massive amount of regeneration, but that is over 8 hits. And regeneration has a hard cap at 5 stacks, so a portion of that regeneration is wasted entirely. So unless you are responsible for healing and there are no druids around, I really wouldn't bother prioritizing trying to access Shadow Squall.
4 times the charm.
Let's go up the stairs.
Next, Well of Silence is a decent alternative, so rather than using Blinding Powder, you could use Well of Silence, though I personally have been toying with the idea of using Seal Area, which, if timed right, could actually end up burning some stability on the enemy team.
Let's go. It's SHW.
Super speed.
Onto the Shroud skills. The Shroud skills all produce some benefit when they hit an enemy, so you'll want to switch from ally target to enemy target when you're in it. Start with 2, which is one of your blast finishers. Next, you'll activate your 5 to share stability and get that cooldown going. 3 and 4 come next, 3 being a leap finisher and a CC. And 4, which is kind of a mediocre heal unless you're doing a huge cleave, you'll just want to activate that, and then spam 1 until your 2 skill becomes available again, and then you'll activate that before exiting Shadow Shroud. You should have gone into Shadow Shroud with no initiative, and now you should be leaving Shroud right as your initiative is almost completely full. So don't forget to switch back to an ally target at that point.
Tonight's logs are going to be beautiful.